Okay, hi, this is Dan Henk, and welcome to another edition of the Skull Sessions. And today my guest is Dan Price. Is that correct?
Yeah, you got it,
All
man.
right,
How are you
awesome.
today?
Awesome. All right, man, so what's going on?
Oh man, not too much, man. Just working on this comic book, Bigfoot Knows Karate, doing my thing out there in comic book land. And we got a Kickstarter happening right now for the Chapter 3 Hellhound on My Trail, where, so picking up where we left off with the original story, and it's you can pick up all the chapters currently on Kickstarter for the next 4 days. Our campaign ends on the 13th.
Okay. Do you raise the money to release each new issue with the Kickstarter? Like, I know a lot of
Correct.
people do that.
Yeah, no, that we've been doing that. First few issues have gone really well over on Kickstarter, and so here we go again, right? And yeah, it's been going really well so far. We've doubled our goal. There's two stretch goals already that have been hit. We're going to be doing stickers and continuing the trading card series. We started with issue one, and so those are like monster cards. So like previous ones we did were like Kung Fu Thulu. We did Bigfoot himself, the Minotaur. We did
Kung
Chupacabra with a
Fu
shotgun.
Cthulhu.
Kung Fu Thulu. Yeah, man.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. The first issue he fights Cthulhu or Kung Fu Thulu in the Ultimate Monster Showdown. We liken it to Godzilla versus Kong meets Kill Bill with a twist of X Files. That's how we look at the book.
So if you had to categorize it, how would you categorize it? Would it be like a fantasy? Would it be horror, like speculative
Um,
fiction, like
yeah,
maybe
action
with a little bit
adventure,
of like a
psychological.
comedy edge?
Yeah, no, action adventure psychological thriller. There's a few jokes thrown in for good measure, but yeah, it definitely there's definitely a lot of head games going on in the book for sure.
Okay, is it kind of like have you seen the movie Pacific Rim?
I have seen Pacific Rim. That was a lot of fun. Uh, I wouldn't say it's quite like that. Um, More Kill Bill, less kaiju. You know what I mean? While there
Right.
are kaiju going on in the book, we have another kaiju in issue two. His name's Thermonucleodon, who's got like missiles just growing straight out of him. And and we just have like Mothman. There's a Mothman who's like a seer in through time and space, but he's blind, so he can't see 3 feet in front of him, right? So he can just sense what's going on in the world around him. It's pretty wild. And but then there's like this far more sinister things going on in the story. When I said with a twist, I meant that. I meant that with all my heart and soul. There's a good twisty part of this book that takes you in a wild ride that you would never expect a Bigfoot, to be a part of. So it's pretty exciting.
So you're kind of like weaving in like less legends and lore and myth and stuff into like a comprehensive story and kind of putting your own twist on it.
Yeah, so definitely kaiju's, cryptids, creatures of lore all show up in this. And yeah, we're taking from different mythologies as well. And it's fascinating because when I got into doing this originally, me and my co-writer, well, first it kind of started with me, and then Casey came on a little bit later, and I had no frame of reference for any of this stuff. I mean, none. I mean, I wasn't a Bigfoot fan. I'm not a martial artist. I mean, I do judo, but like not like what we're dealing with here. I mean, this guy's got some things happening. And I'm not keyed into all that stuff and going through and doing the research, man, that's been so much fun. Learning about different things. I mean, we got a. Can I cuss on here? What's the
Oh, of
language
course.
situation?
You say
Okay,
whatever the
we got
fuck you want. It's New
yeah,
York.
no, yeah, far out. Okay, so we know we got a fucking Manicore in issue three for crying out loud, dude.
That's
I mean,
cool.
come on, In the second issue or in the prequel book we did, that took place in feudal Japan. So
Okay.
we're going all over the place with this thing, and we can, I mean, when you've got a character that is like been part of the zeitgeist for as long as time has been time. There's always been some culture somewhere that's had a Bigfoot, or some creature like that in their stories, you know, who's to say it's not the same creature from from the beginning who's being spotted all around the world? You know what I mean? There's so many cool things we can do with this type of
Well,
character. It's
there's
pretty
a lot
cool.
of like local interpretations of a very
Yeah.
common theme. So, a lot of people they speculate about everything from like I don't know if you ever followed into that stuff like the church of God sort of stuff, where like a lot of religions talk about like they called everything chariots in those days. So they say like the chariots descended from the heavens, and but it
Mhm.
being everything from like Krishna to like all sorts of other religions. And they're like maybe they're all talking about the same thing.
Thank you. Okay, so we're all on the same page here. You get it. You get where I'm going with this. You are picking up what I'm dropping down. You understand the assignment. We're here, buddy. We're here.
So, how are you, like, all right, so probably the best way for readers to kind of get a feel for it is, what would you say, don't, I'm not saying you're exactly like this, but if you said your storytelling was like this author's version, like is more like along the lines of like Stephen King or like Neil Gaiman or like, whatever.
Yeah. So, I think that if I had to do some sort of comparison to the writing style, Lost would come to mind. The TV show Lost, in terms of the
Which I
fact that
heard
the
until the last season was awesome.
right. Okay, yeah, let's just take that last couple seasons and push those to the side. We're just purely talking about not the story, but the storytelling method. This
Okay.
barrage of questions that they were throwing at the reader to propel them forward. That's what we've done in the first couple of issues of this book. It's just we've just dropped a lot of questions on the reader. What is going on here? Why is this happening? Who is this person? Not just, I mean, all the there's this man in black who shows up in issue one that like just kind of turns this whole thing on its head. I won't go into the details, you know what I
So it's
mean?
kind
But
of a
there's
weird thing, like what they do with like Stranger Things or whatever, where it's like weird, unexplainable stuff is happening, but eventually it all starts to tie together.
yeah, I mean that's definitely yes, it does. I don't know about the Stranger Things portion, but yes, I mean
Well, I'm
it
not
all.
saying it's Stranger Things and Eleven's
No,
gonna
no,
pop
no,
out,
no, no,
but
no,
yeah.
no. Yeah, no. I mean, I understand what you're saying in terms of story structure completely. You know what I mean? Like it all. We put breadcrumbs in issue one that'll come around in another arc later on. You know what I mean? There's just little things that we're doing that that'll show up in time, and I can't wait for some of those things to come to fruition for sure. But it's all about having like a really being organized with your story and knowing what you're going to be doing later on and knowing that this is the time to just drop that little something, make that question come
You
up.
kind of
You know
plot
what I
out
mean?
where it's going ahead of time so that you can like
Oh,
drop
yeah.
those little nuggets and early issues, but you know what that's going to lead to something. Because some people just
Correct.
fly by the seats of their pants, and it's like, it's kind of hard to like insert a little nugget in there and then like have it come to fruition later on if you didn't even know what you're going to do.
Exactly. My background in comics is in comedy. Okay, like I did comedy comics for a long time. Like my first series was called Latex Avenger, and he had a psychic spermicidal foam lad, and together they repelled crime 99.9% of the time. So I was used to writing like one-shot comedy comics, dick and fart jokes, no big continuity, none of that shit. You know what I mean? And now thankfully Casey came into the mix with me on this, and because we're doing a very wide format cinematic story that is so much more there's so much more going on than anything else that I've ever worked on in a comic book format. So and I'm trying to go for a real crazy art style in terms of a very brushy, grungy, motion based
So that's the way it's
artwork.
rendered. Like the artist you has a unique style that's a little bit more of like a I'd say sketchy, but kind of sketchy in a way that like makes sense.
Yeah, and that's how I've been drawing it. I mean, I'm having, just loose, I mean, like here, when I draw, like I remember I had art professors in college say, your loose stuff is very cool. When you start to like ink and all that gets very rigid and very, so I've tried to maintain this very loose style, even with the inking process. So it just feels like there's motion happening, even when he's standing
Okay, so
still.
you're the primary artist and you're also a
Yes,
partial
yes,
writer. Is that correct?
correct, correct, correct.
Who would you say your biggest influences are as far as like art? Like like I'm doing comics, so I could list off a bunch of people like John Tolbin is a huge influence, Bernie Wrightson is a huge influence. So I'm wondering what yours are.
By the real quick, Bernie Wrightson, rest in peace, was one of the nicest guys ever.
Oh, I met him. Yeah,
He
he's awesome.
Yeah, he lived in Austin the last few years of his life,
Okay.
and he became real chummy with
Is
a
that where
lot of
you
us
are
here.
now in Austin?
I live in Austin. Yeah, yes,
Yeah, I
sir.
lived there for
Yeah.
3 years.
How'd you like it?
I liked it a lot. The only thing is, I do a lot of like dark horror stuff, and that's
Uh,
bigger up north than it is down in Austin. And
gotcha.
after you live in New York City, like everything seems small to you. So
Right.
I was like, like Austin has a lot of like cool stuff going on, a lot of like underground, like I love the Alamo. The Alamo is awesome. You
Oh
know,
yeah,
I love like even like the food carts. Like the best barbecue I've ever had is Black's. Like the best
sure,
tacos I've had are from food carts. So I mean, there are a lot of great things about Austin, and I still go there like once a year to visit. But I,
sure.
plus I own a shop up here in New York, so I have to kind of be up here.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, no, I mean, Austin, I love it. I mean, it's a great town for sure. But I like New York, man. I was up there for Brooklyn Comic Con a couple of years ago, year ago, something like that. And
Okay.
I had a blast, man. I had a blast. I was staying out in where the hell was I staying? Williamsburg, and the show was out in
No,
Bushwick.
I
Yeah.
lived in Williamsburg for a while. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, the show was in Bushwick. It was cool, man. I had a really good time out there. And look forward to going out there again. Hopefully find out in a few days if we get into New York Comic Con, if me and the Homebrewed guys get into New York Comic Con. So we'll find out about that. Looking forward to knowing, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know a lot of people like are like, yeah, I've been trying to get into New York Comic Con. I just get like it's hard to get into.
Oh yeah, I got in years ago, and unfortunately, like I gotten laid off like a week before I found out that I had gotten in, and it just made it financially like just impossible to make it work that time. So, well, it did, and so it's like if I get in this year, me and the homebrew team from the guys from Homebrew Comics, if we get in, that's gonna be
Do you
that's gonna
think
be
they
awesome.
kind of held that against you? Like, we gave you an opportunity and you like
Oh nah.
didn't follow through.
Nah, nah, nah. I'm nobody. They didn't. They forgot about me a long time ago. Uh,
Nobody. So, all right, if you had to
oh, you were asking me about art styles.
yeah,
Sorry.
that's what I'm gonna refresh.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Um,
if you had to compare, like, kind of like what you do, like, like I'd say, like myself looks more like John Talbot, but there are lots of people who like, they kind of follow more like the later Frank Miller style, or they follow the Mike Mignola style, or or whatever. It's like as long as you do it well, I don't think there's like one style that dominates. It'd be kind of boring, actually.
sure. No, I am a Miller fan. I'm a big Frank Miller fan. He's probably, to me, he is the greatest creator. You know what I mean? Not the greatest artist, not the greatest writer, but he pulls it all together
Oh,
beautifully.
definitely,
And
yeah.
yeah,
He broke a
him,
lot
and
of
I get.
boundaries. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, he's brilliant, dude. I mean, and Mignola is another person that I have a lot of respect for. Wouldn't say his art shows up in my work, although I'm trying to incorporate more heavy blacks into my work. And playing with shadows in a different way than I normally do. I get a lot of people say my work reminds them of Genji Tartakovsky's, and so cool. I'll take that. That sounds like a good compliment, so I'll roll with it. I'm not. It's not that I'm not a fan of his. It's not that I don't like his work. I'm just not a fan. Meaning that I have very little exposure to it.
Okay.
So I've made a deal with myself. When I finish the fifth issue of Bigfoot Knows Karate, I'm going to sit my ass down and I'm going to watch Samurai Jack and I'm going to watch Primal and I'm going to find out what all the fuss is about. Okay, so that's my deal to y'all. Anybody who's ever watched me on a podcast has probably heard me say that. That's my deal to y'all. And we'll watch it eventually. Anytime somebody brings up the Samurai Jack thing, but other artists that I really like, Ramita Jr. I really got a lot of respect for John Ramita Jr.'s work. I think he's fantastic. And who else is somebody that I really dig on? That's really the big ones. I mean, anybody who isn't a Jack Kirby fan, I have to question their values. Beyond
He's
that,
kind of the OG. I think a lot of people
LG.
like took the stuff that he did and they kind of like developed their own style based on it. But I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
if you go back, like when did he start? Like the 30s or 40s? Like
40s. Yeah,
yeah, like he was doing Captain America before it was fucking Marvel. It was like Timely
yeah.
Comics.
Yeah, no, 30s was probably his intro. Yeah, but he did Captain America in 41. And, I mean, then Fantastic Four in 62. I mean, and then all the other stuff in between, Fighting American and all that other stuff. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
war comics, romance comics, westerns, whatever he could get his hand on. Granddaddy of it all. And, and it's like a Rodney Dangerfield, but it's like no respect. You know what I mean? And it's a
Exactly.
shame.
Yeah. You know, they used
Yeah.
to have people come over and they just give away his original artwork to like people just like browsing, like
Or,
they didn't care about him at all. He had to fight for
right.
everything.
Hold on. My dog was playing with a squeaky toy that had to end real quick.
Yeah, no
So
problem.
anyway, yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, like how what a gracious, generous person he was,
Yeah.
and and so taken advantage of in the industry, and it's a shame. I hope that look, I'm an indie guy. I'm a big have a big thing about controlling my own intellectual property. Watching what's happened to him and so many other creators. You know, uh, I'm in this to win this. I mean, nobody gets to mess with my intellectual property without me being okay with it. I just refuse to, maybe that's just kind of like you know, just that, I mean, maybe that's just because of inspiration, I mean, I mean, I'm a big influence by the '90s image revolution stuff. I mean, I mean, when I was young, I came from the Rob Liefeld School of Drawing. I think it still shows up in my artwork. Honestly, I don't know if I mean it to, but it does. You know, but
It's weird. I think Image and Dark Horse were the first ones that really managed to like make something and keep it going. Because I remember there were
oh
all these
yeah,
people like Caliber Press and Eclipse and all this stuff. They were like, they tried and they just sunk. And then it seems like those guys managed to like keep it going.
oh, absolutely. No, they're brilliant. I mean, I don't know. It's like there's that whole DIY, little punk rock bastard still in me who's just like, this is mine. Fuck you. I'm gonna do it my way, kind of
Yeah.
thing. You know what I mean? And then there's the other thing of it's just the total control of it. That I want to maintain that control of the property. And
No, I
not
hear you.
get
Yeah.
yeah, not get screwed over. You know what I mean? Like, okay, so take Homebrewed Comics, for example. Okay, that's the publishing company that myself, Chris Saloff from Crit, Drew Lenhart from Caspian Porter, and Dennis Valencia from Celestial Knight recently started up. Okay, like we've all talked to different publishers and stuff like that. And and the thing is they want media rights, partial media rights in perpetuity. I'm not gonna do that,
Right.
man. And nobody should. Nobody should be signing that kind of stuff away like that. There's amazing publishers out there doing amazing things, and I think that's great. But
No, I hear you.
we
I
just
hear you. I
yeah.
like I interviewed with DC Comics and like I too have that kind of like a punk rock mentality, like fuck you.
Oh,
And I remember DC Comics at the time they were doing very poorly. Like the movie saved them, you know. And I remember I interviewed with the head of them, it's his name, but I interviewed with the head of Veronica, like the whole like Sandman, Swamp Thing line. And I was
oh,
like,
the Vertigo
or
stuff.
Vertigo, sorry.
Yeah.
Veronica is Glenn Danzig's line, but yeah, but yeah, and I was like, oh, this is perfect, and basically what it is, like he looks at my portfolio, he goes, "Look, this might work in our school, but let me tell you what sells." And he brought out like a Superman comic. It was a splash page of Superman punching Lex Luthor. He's like, "You want to do this?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "We're gonna job for you." That was the interview.
Yeah,
I was like, "Fuck you." So now I started doing illustrated books, and since then I've done some stuff for comics. But yeah, it's like now I'm glad because I've interviewed people that like were huge inspirations of mine, like Walter Simonson and Steve
nice. That's
Bissett,
cool.
you know, and
Nice.
they teach at art schools because
Oh, yeah.
they have no rights. Like Marvel and DC keep all the rights.
Right. No, I mean that's part of why we did what we did with Homebird, starting this thing up, man. It's like, we're gonna do this our way. We're gonna do this as a united collective, united force of business. But we secured distribution. Come July, will the catalogs go out? In October, Bigfoot Knows Karate, Crit, Caspian Porter, Celestial Knight. These books will start trickling into comic stores, man. And why not? Why not? Why not just go swing for the fences and see what happens?
Do
I mean,
you
that's
sell a
really.
lot like online, like on Amazon and stuff, or is it mainly you them in traditional stores?
So no, so stores will start up in October. So this is our first foray into all of that, right? Up until this point, it's been Kickstarter, it's been comic conventions, online sales, all of that. But this is the next inevitable phase, as Tom Waits said in Mystery Men. I mean, the next inevitable phase. But yeah, so we got to give it a shot, man. Fuck it, let's
Well,
go.
I know, like I'm friends with Brian Keene. He's like a horror author. I see him at a lot of horror conventions, like author conventions, and he
Yeah.
owns a comic shop. And he says DC and Marvel is only about 3 to 4% of the sales. It's all indie comics.
After this thing, I'd love to get his contact information. I'd love to send him some information about what we're doing. If that's possible. That would be incredible,
Okay,
or anything like that. But yeah, definitely. Because if they're indie centric, that's the people. The distribution company that we signed up with, Philbo Distribution. Phil's an indie publisher himself. All the companies that have signed up with us or with him, not us. I mean, it's not my company, but it's like Antarctic Press recently signed up. Zenoscope is a part of it now. um, all the, and then, but a lot of it is indie publishers, like Homebrew, that are, just getting their start. So it's pretty incredible watching, I mean, the Adventures of Wonder Duck is going to be in stores, man. I'm so stoked for George Medina that that's happening for him. You know what I mean? Like it's incredible that everybody's, doing their best to get out there and put their work out there and, get seen. It's a big gamble. We're all gambling on ourselves, man, but that's what it takes sometimes. So let's do it.
let me ask you a little bit about the like what you have planned as far as the corporate mechanism. Like how often are you going to release an issue? How many pages of the issue, and
Yeah.
who's going to print it for you? Because I know a number of people like indie comic book publishers like Carissa Grant or Neil, and they all say like the print on demand Amazon comics aren't that good.
Mhm.
Like just the printing
No.
process is not that great.
So books will be staggered out. There's going to be something new from Homebird every month. Okay, whether it's Bigfoot Knows Karate Crit or other titles that we're working on. So everything will be staggered out. The printing, that's So here's what we're doing with that. I mean, I've used a printer for a lot of years that I've been really happy with. We're working with a couple of different printers right now, trying to secure what's best, basically best pricing. We found some really good people out there who do really good work. And so we're just trying to figure out all the ins and outs of all of it. But I think that, so I'd love to give you a name of who we're going to be using for sure. But right now, it's just a
We don't have
little
to. I
too
was just
soon.
kind of curious.
Yeah. Yeah. No, no, no. We can talk offline, though, about that. I'd be happy to talk more about that. Not on camera, I guess, is part on
Well,
that.
I know how are you gonna distribute it? Because I heard like the big dog on the scene was Diamond.
Hmm.
I heard Diamond is
Yeah.
going bankrupt.
They're gone. And that's the thing. This is the optimum time to take advantage of that situation. The market is thrashed right now. Diamond falling apart. That is open up the door for a lot of different distributors to pop up. Filbo being one of them.
Well, it
There's
seems
still
like people
Lunar
are
out
going a
there.
lot more for the indie stuff, period. Like even some of the
Oh
mainstream
yeah,
people, like Garth is now doing stuff, like he'll do stuff on Dynamite, like these Dynamite basically, I'm sure you're familiar with Dynamite, but Dynamite
oh yeah,
they'll put out everything from like mainstream you know big budget like big audience guys to like unknowns basically
oh yeah.
and like I'm sure you get a way better return and deal if you do it through Dynamite than if you do it through like Marvel or DC, which I'm sure Garthine is like was like, yeah, that's for me.
Yeah. No, I mean, Garth Ennis is somebody who's been in the street for a lot of years. I mean, they can write their own check at this point. I mean, what did they do? Preacher, The Boys. I mean, he's guy's gotten around, right? I mean,
The Preacher comic was amazing. I
oh
haven't
yeah,
read The Boys, but I watched The Boys TV series. It is fucking
sure.
awesome.
I couldn't get into The Boys. I read the first six issues of The Boys, and I had to put it down. It was some of the subject matter was a little too much for me, to be perfectly honest with you. I was like, a little grossed out by that. Gonna have to put it down. But but the writing was phenomenal.
Well,
That's the thing.
I kind of felt like I read Preacher. I thought Preacher was amazing, and
Sure.
then he did like a miniseries on The Shadow, and I'm a big Shadow fan. And I was like,
Yeah.
like basically he
Yeah.
did Garth Ennis's interpretation of The Shadow. Like it's like
Is it good?
he, yeah, but I feel like he didn't capture The Shadow at all. You know,
Gotcha.
so it's not a fault of him, but he also did like a Nick Fury thing. It's just like another the characters of Preacher done as the Shadow, done as Nick Fury. And then
Sure.
I remember he did the boys, and it felt like yeah, it is a bit over the top, but I don't know. I kind of liked where it was going, where it was evolving.
Sure. Now, the show and the comic are very different from what everybody's told me about how they kind of lay it out at the beginning. And again, it was just some of the machinations that the characters do to each other. It's just a little much for me. To each their own, man. I'm not here to judge anybody of anything. Like I was into Sons of Anarchy for a while, but eventually, like I had to get the fuck out of that too. It's just like some of the
Yeah,
shit
I
was going
heard it
on. It
just
was
got
just a little
super
much.
unrealistic. Like they going after
Yeah,
the FBI and all this sort of stuff.
I was
Yeah.
out by then. I was out by then. But it's yeah. Um, yeah, that's really all I got on that, honestly.
All right, so let's talk about your Kickstarter for a minute.
Sure.
When is your Kickstarter? It already began. When is it ending
Yeah,
by?
it ends on Friday the 13th. So we hey, what are you gonna do? So it ends on the 13th Friday of June, and so it's been going good so
You can
far,
say it
man.
gets cut off on bad joke.
Uh, no, it ends on Friday. We're doing good so far. We're over 200% funded on the book. People have been backing it, and we've had our loyal backers who've been with us from the beginning. A lot of new faces who came on for this issue. Because we're offering chapters 1 through 3 as well as our prequel book Inagon. You can jump in on this campaign and pick right up with what's happening. And we've had a lot of people backing the digital catch up, which I'm really happy to see. You can for $15
Oh,
you
so
can get
you
four
offer it
issues.
as a digital file, and that's one of the tiers where, like, if you donate,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Do you
you
have
can get
other
just an
perks
issue.
that like? I know Carissa does like all these plushies and stuff like that.
No, I'm pretty much comics this issue, this campaign. The only thing that we did, the only thing we have that's not a comic is you can get the Bigfoot Knows Karate Fiend Club World Championship belt. We do have a championship belt. You want to see it? I can grab it for you. I got one over here.
Just
Um,
send me a picture of it. I'll put it on the screen.
sure, will do. And so yeah, you can get it's like 7 pounds of metal. and it's got the Bigfoot graphic on it, and that's our big boy. That's our
That's pretty
big
awesome. Yeah.
expensive tier. So it's like for that, it's $450. You get it signed, and we send you all the comics to go with it. But our tiers start at $4 for a digital of number three. You can get the catch up for 15. You can get the regular copies for $10. We have a deluxe edition for 15 and 20, and then we have a holofoil for 35, where you get the regular edition with that too. So you have a reader copy as well as the holofoil. And then we're doing something cool on the campaign. The homebrewed gang, we're doing these coupons in the book. So if you backed Crit, you got the pink coupon here. If you back Bigfoot Knows Karate, you get the blue one. And then Caspian Porter
You
versus
said
Celestial
coupon,
Knight.
coupon for what?
Okay, so yeah, this is what it's for. This is badass. Okay, you back the book, you get the coupon in the with it. The coupon is there's three coupons. You collect them all, and there's 3-digit codes on there. You take all 9 digits. You go to our website, and you can purchase Homebrewed Zero. Okay, it's a completely
Okay, tell
exclusive
everybody
comic to
what
our
your
web.
website is.
Yeah, homebrewedcomics.com. So you go to
Okay.
homebrewedcomics.com. Once you get all three books in the mail with the
Brewed like
coupon,
BREWED.
yeah, like brewing coffee,
Right.
homebrewed. Yeah. And so, yeah, you can buy Homebrewed Zero, which is an exclusive comic to our website. It's going to be 36 pages of original content, all, short stories by myself, Drew Lenhart, Dennis Valencia, Chris Saloff, and our friend Mo Lubasan, featuring all the characters from our books. Okay. And so the short stories, and then it's gonna have a cover by Luis Thomas that is a holofoil cover. So this is gonna be you can purchase that from our website with that coupon code. Haven't seen this done since the early '90s, man. When Image tried this out, so we're giving it a shot, seeing what happens. We've got a lot of people who are excited about the coupon project and getting their copy of Homebird Zero. I can't wait to see this
It's
come to
weird. People
fruition.
have like something and they try it and they're like, oh, that wasn't a moneymaker. And then someone else try the exact same thing. It's like, dude,
Yeah,
that blew up. Why didn't we do
yeah.
that? Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, look, if it's a moneymaker or not, but it's going to be a really cool exclusive
It'll be a cool
comic that,
feature. Yeah.
oh, yeah. And we're only going to do the holofoils through the website. So if we print this again, it will be with a regular cover or a different cover. We're going to do something different with it, for conventions and that sort of thing. But this is going to be a lot of fun. I'm really excited for that. So that's available. You can get the coupon with any physical comic purchase or any physical tier on the book. You're going to get the coupon with
So
that.
if people want to look
Um,
up your Kickstarter, what would they look up?
Go to homebrewedcomics.com. There's a direct link on our homepage. You can go to Kickstarter and just search Bigfoot Knows Karate. I'm the only one. I mean, there's no other books called Bigfoot. Yeah, I'm just it. So,
Okay. It's kind
or
of a
you can go to
unique name. Yeah.
or you can go to bigfootknowskarate.com as well, and you can find a direct link there to the Kickstarter. So there's a few places, or you can go to danomite139 on Instagram, link on my profile. So trying to make it easy for you guys.
Okay. Awesome.
Cool.
Well, thank you. Is there anything else that
Yeah.
you're on that people should look at? Like, do you have a Facebook or, I guess it's X now. It's not like Twitter
Yeah.
or like Blue
Nah.
Sky or something.
I'm on Blue Sky and I'm on Instagram. You can find me at Danomite139. That's DANOMYTE139. Or just look up hashtag Bigfoot Knows Karate. You'll find me.
Okay. All right. Again, thank you. And do you have anything else you want to throw out to the sphere?
To quote Bill and Ted, be excellent to each other and party on, dude. I don't know. I got nothing. I got nothing. But thank you so much for having me on tonight. I really do appreciate it. And I enjoyed talking with you.